You don't go to a Chinese wedding expecting a financial negotiation. You go because you're in love, because you met someone who makes the world feel smaller and warmer, because somewhere between late-night noodle runs and teaching each other curse words in 2 languages, you decided this person was yours. You go because marriage is supposed to be about 2 people choosing each other. Except in China, it's never just 2 people. It's 2 families, 2 sets of expectations, and one very old tradition that comes with a price tag you didn't see coming. His name is David. He's 29, works in marketing for a tech startup in Shanghai, makes decent money by Western standards, and is hopelessly, catastrophically in love with a woman named Lin Wei. They met at a coffee shop in Jing'an 2 years ago. She ordered in English just to practice. He responded in broken Mandarin just to impress her. They both laughed at how badly that went, and somehow ended up talking for 3 hours about nothing and everything. 6 months later, they were living together in a cramped apartment near People's Square, splitting rent and arguing about whose turn it was to buy toilet paper, which is the kind of domestic mundane that only happens when you've stopped pretending to be impressive and started being real. He proposes on a random Tuesday night. No grand plan, no sunset, just the 2 of them on the couch after a 12-hour workday. And he looks at her and realizes he doesn't want to do another day without making it official. She says yes before he finishes asking. They order dumplings to celebrate. It's perfect. For about 72 hours. Then Lin Wei's mother calls. The conversation is in Mandarin, rapid and serious. David watches Lin Wei's face shift from excited to careful. When she hangs up, she sits down slowly and says the sentence that changes everything. My parents want to meet you, to discuss the bride price. David nods because he's heard of this. Bride price, betrothal gift, Kai Li. It's a tradition that goes back thousands of years, a symbolic gesture from the groom's family to the bride's family, representing respect, gratitude, and the groom's ability to provide. Symbolic, that's the word he holds on to. Symbolic like a nice dinner or a thoughtful gift. Lin Wei's father has a different definition of symbolic. They meet at a restaurant in Pudong, one of those places with private rooms and lazy Susans that never stop spinning. Her father is a retired factory manager from Anhui province, built like someone who's spent decades lifting things heavier than conversations. Her mother smiles constantly but says little. They order food, they make small talk. Then, over tea, Lin Wei's father slides a red envelope across the table. Inside is a handwritten note. Numbers. The bride price expectation, 288,000 yuan. David stares at the number. He does the math automatically because that's what your brain does when it's panicking. 288,000 yuan. That's roughly 40,000 US dollars. His salary is good, but his savings account contains maybe a tenth of that. He's been in China for 4 years. He's paid off student loans. He sends money home occasionally. He has enough to cover rent and life and the occasional weekend trip, but 40 grand. That's a car. That's a down payment. That's a year of his life converted into a single transaction. Lin Wei sees his face and jumps in. She speaks to her father in Mandarin, fast and urgent. David catches a few words. Too much. Modern. Not necessary. Her father's response is calm, unmovable. He's not asking for the moon. Other families in their social circle ask for more. 288 is reasonable. It's auspicious. The number 8 means prosperity. 2 8s mean double prosperity. 3 8s mean the marriage starts on solid financial ground, which proves David is serious, stable, a man who can take care of their daughter. David wants to argue that taking care of someone has nothing to do with a number on a piece of paper, but he's sitting in a private room in a restaurant he can't afford, eating food he didn't order, trying to marry into a culture where his opinion on this matter ranks somewhere below the tea temperature. Lin Wei squeezes his hand under the table. She mouths, "We'll figure it out." They don't figure it out. They try. David talks to his parents. They offer what they can, maybe 8,000. He takes out a loan. He borrows from 2 friends who owe him favours. He sells his car, which wasn't worth much, but at least it was something. He drains his savings, skips meals, works overtime, and somehow, 3 months later, he has 260,000 yuan. Close. Not enough. Lin Wei offers to cover the gap with her own money. Her father refuses. The bride price comes from the groom. That's the tradition. That's the point. David sits in their apartment at 2 a.m. staring at a spreadsheet and realizes he's 28,000 yuan short of marrying the woman he loves. The wedding is in 2 weeks. He finds the money in a way that will haunt him for years. An old college friend, Marcus, runs a crypto trading operation in Singapore. Not illegal, just adjacent to several things that probably should be. Marcus offers a loan at 12% interest, no questions asked, cash in hand within 48 hours. David takes it. He doesn't tell Linway where the final 28,000 came from. He just shows up at her parents' apartment with a red envelope containing 288,000 yen in bank transfer confirmation, and a smile that feels like it's been duct taped to his face. Her father counts it. Not the paper, the number on the screen. He counts it twice. Then he nods. The negotiation is over. The marriage can proceed. Linway hugs him in the hallway afterward. She's crying, relieved, apologising for her father's stubbornness. David holds her and says it's fine. He means it and doesn't mean it at the same time. That's the thing about compromising yourself for love. You can do it and resent it and still call it worth it, all in the same breath. The wedding is set for a Saturday in April at a banquet hall in Minhang district. 200 guests. Linway's family invites everyone they've ever met. Cousins, co-workers, neighbours, people whose names David will never learn and whose faces will blur together in photos he'll look at later and feel nothing. His side of the room is smaller. His parents, his brother, 3 friends who flew in from the States. They sit at their tables looking polite and slightly terrified, like diplomats at a summit where they don't speak the language or understand the customs. The morning of the wedding, David wakes up at 6 a.m. in a hotel room that smells like industrial carpet cleaner and optimism. Linway is getting ready with her bridesmaids 3 floors up. He's not allowed to see her until the tea ceremony. Tradition. His phone buzzes at 7:15, a message from Linway's mother. "Can you come to room 804? We need to discuss something small before the ceremony." Small. That word should have been a warning. He goes upstairs. Linway's mother opens the door. Behind her, Linway's father sits at the table with another man David doesn't recognise. Older, maybe 60, wearing a suit that costs more than David's entire wardrobe. Linway's uncle, the one who lives in Shenzhen and made a fortune in real estate during the boom years and hasn't let anyone forget it since. The uncle speaks first. His Mandarin is fast, clipped, transactional. David catches maybe half of it. Linway's mother translates, her voice apologetic but firm. There's been a miscommunication, a detail that was overlooked during the original negotiation. The bride price covered the marriage, but there's also the matter of the door games. David knows about door games. It's a tradition where the groom and his groomsmen show up at the bride's door on the wedding morning, and the bridesmaids block the entrance. The groom has to complete challenges, answer questions, sometimes pay small red envelopes to get through. It's playful. It's symbolic. It's supposed to be fun. The uncle has a different version in mind. He suggests that before David can proceed to the tea ceremony, he should present an additional sum as a gesture of respect to the bride's extended family. Not a requirement, a suggestion, a gesture. How much? 50,000 yuan. David laughs. Not because it's funny, because his brain has run out of appropriate responses and laughter is what bubbles up when disbelief meets exhaustion. 50,000 yuan! That's another 7 grand. On top of the 40 he already borrowed, scraped, begged and sold his dignity for. Linway's mother touches his arm. She says it's customary in their region. She says the uncle is being generous. Other families ask for more. David looks at Linway's father. The man who audited his future, accepted his payment, nodded his approval 2 weeks ago. He's staring at the table. He won't meet David's eyes. David's phone buzzes again. A text from Linway. "Where are you?" Ceremony starts in 30 minutes. He looks at the 3 people in the room. He thinks about the loan from Marcus. He thinks about the spreadsheet at 2 a.m. He thinks about the word symbolic and how it's been redefined so many times in the last 6 months that it doesn't mean anything anymore. Then he thinks about Linway 3 floors down in a wedding dress, surrounded by bridesmaids and hope, waiting for him to show up and prove that love is worth the price. He looks at the uncle and says in the clearest Mandarin he can manage, "I don't have 50,000 yuan. The uncle shrugs. "Then I suppose we have a problem." David stands up. His hands are shaking. He walks to the door, opens it and stops. He doesn't go downstairs to Linway. He goes to the elevator. He presses the button for the lobby. The elevator doors close. David watches the floor numbers descend. 12, 11, 10. His reflection stares back from the mirrored wall. A man in a rented suit that cost 800 yuan and fits like a suggestion. A man who spent 6 months converting his life into currency and still came up short. The lobby is chaos. Wedding guests milling around, taking photos, checking phones. Red decorations everywhere. Gold characters spelling double happiness on every available surface. An elderly woman he's never met smiles at him and says something in a dialect he doesn't recognize. He nods, keeps walking. Outside, the air hits him. Shanghai in October. Cool enough to notice, warm enough to ignore. The street is packed. Taxis, electric scooters, a food vendor selling jianbing from a cart, completely unbothered by the wedding happening 50 feet away. David's phone rings. Lin Wei. He declines it. It rings again. He turns it off. He walks. No destination, just movement. Because standing still means thinking, and thinking means processing what just happened, and he's not ready for that math yet. 3 blocks down, he finds a park. Small, wedged between apartment towers. Old men playing chess on stone tables. A woman doing Tai Chi with the focused intensity of someone who's been doing it every morning for 40 years. He sits on a bench. His phone is off, but he can still feel it buzzing in his pocket. Phantom vibrations. Muscle memory from 6 months of constant negotiation, constant updates, constant reminders that love requires a payment plan. He thinks about Lin Wei in that hotel room, the dress, the makeup artist who arrived at 6 in the morning, the bridesmaids taking 1,000 photos, the hope. He thinks about her face when she realizes he's not coming back upstairs. A kid runs past chasing a soccer ball. His grandmother yells after him in Shanghainese. The kid ignores her, keeps running. David pulls out his phone, turns it on. 43 missed calls, 67 texts. He scrolls through them without reading. Lin Wei, Marcus, his mum, people from the wedding he doesn't even know, everyone asking the same question in different languages. Where are you? One text stops him, from Lin Wei's father, sent 20 minutes ago, 4 words in English. We can talk downstairs. David stares at it. Downstairs. As if proximity is the issue. As if sitting in the same room will somehow make 50,000 yuan appear in his bank account, or make the last 6 months feel like something other than a transaction he kept failing to close. He types a response, deletes it, types another, deletes that too. Instead, he opens a new message to Lin Wei. His thumbs hover over the keyboard. What do you say to someone when you're cancelling a wedding from a park bench 3 blocks away? He writes, I'm sorry, sends it. Then he writes, I can't do this, sends that too. Then he turns the phone off again because whatever comes next, he's not ready to read it. The Tai Chi woman finishes her routine. She rolls up her mat, tucks it under her arm and walks away without acknowledging anyone. David wonders if she's been coming to this park for decades, if she's watched the city rebuild itself around her, if she's seen traditions bend and break and reassemble into shapes nobody planned for. He sits there for 2 hours, watching people, watching the city, watching his life reorganize itself in real time into something unrecognizable. Eventually Marcus shows up. David doesn't ask how he found him. Marcus sits down without saying anything. They both stare at the chess players. After 10 minutes, Marcus speaks. Lin Wei's family is asking if you're coming back. David shakes his head. Marcus nods. Figured. Another silence. The loan, David says. I'll pay you back. I don't know how yet, but I will. Marcus waves it off. We'll figure it out. They sit. The chess game ends. The old men reset the board. Start again. You know what the worst part is? David says. Marcus waits. I actually loved her. Before all this. Before the spreadsheets and the negotiations and the uncle in the expensive suit. I loved her. Marcus doesn't respond. Because what do you say to that? Love doesn't negotiate. Money does. And somewhere in the last 6 months, David stopped being able to tell the difference. He stands up, his legs are stiff. His rented suit is wrinkled. He looks back toward the hotel. The double happiness characters are still visible from here, glowing red against the grey sky. Marcus stands too. Where to now? David doesn't answer, because he doesn't have one. No plan, no spreadsheet, no next move. Just a park bench in Shanghai and the quiet certainty that some prices are too high, even when you'd pay anything. The wedding never happens. 200 guests eat a banquet that cost another 12,000 yuan. Lin Wei's family tells everyone the groom got sick, food poisoning. Nobody believes it, but everyone pretends to because that's how face works in China. You protect it even when there's nothing left to protect. David leaves Shanghai 3 weeks later. The apartment in Minhang gets sublet to a German consultant who doesn't ask questions about why their lease is being broken early. The tech startup accepts his resignation with the polite disappointment of a company that's already forgotten you by the time you finish your exit interview. He pays Marcus back over 2 years. Every month, 12% interest on money he borrowed to prove love could be quantified. By the time the debt is cleared, the number doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just another expense. Like rent. Like groceries. Like the cost of learning that some traditions aren't symbolic at all. They're tests you can't pass because the price keeps changing and the finish line moves every time you get close. Linwei messages him once, 6 months after the wedding that wasn't. She doesn't ask why he left. She doesn't apologize for her family. She just says she hopes he's okay. He types 5 different responses and sends none of them. Because what do you say to someone who became a negotiation you couldn't afford? He heard later she married someone else, a local guy from Anhui. Someone whose family understood the math from the beginning and came prepared, with the right numbers in the right envelopes at the right time. He hopes she's happy. He means it. Some people fit the system, some people don't. David never goes back to China. Not because he hates it, because he can't separate the country from the cost anymore. Every memory is a line item. Every moment of happiness has a price tag attached that he didn't know he'd have to pay until the invoice arrived on his wedding day. The tradition isn't the villain. Neither is Lin Wei. Neither is her father or her uncle or the system that built itself over thousands of years and doesn't care if a 29-year-old foreigner from Ohio understands it or not. The villain is the gap between what love asks and what culture demands. And sometimes that gap is exactly 50,000 yuan, and sometimes it's everything you have and it still isn't enough. That's the thing about marrying into a tradition you weren't born into. You can respect it. You can try to honor it. You can drain your savings and borrow from friends and sell everything you own to prove you belong. But belonging isn't something you buy. It's something you're born with or you're not. And no amount of money changes that math. He thinks about her sometimes. Lin Wei in that hotel room 3 floors up, waiting for a groom who chose a park bench instead. He wonders if she thinks about him too, if she remembers the dumplings they ordered the night he proposed, if she ever drives past their old apartment and feels the weight of a life that almost happened. Probably not. People move on, especially when the alternative is sitting with a loss that has no shape. No funeral, no closure, just a wedding dress that never got worn and a marriage that collapsed under the weight of a number nobody agreed on. Shanghai keeps spinning. 14 million people. 14 million negotiations happening in apartments and restaurants and hotel rooms where families decide what love costs and whether you can afford it. Some people pay, some people walk away, the city doesn't notice either way.